Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast, where I encourage you in healthy mind, body, and spirit through my Sunday reset. Let's get into it. Okay, y'all, this is one of those conversations I think every single woman needs to hear. Whether you're trying to get pregnant, you want kids someday, or you're already raising them. Because here's the reality. Unfortunately, about 1 in 5 women in the U.S. struggle with infertility. And most of us know it's not just about age anymore. So the real question becomes, what's going on? Are there things in our everyday lives, our environment, our habits, our stress that are quietly working against our fertility and even our kids' long-term health? Today's conversation is going to challenge some assumptions, connect some dots, and hopefully leave you feeling more informed and empowered about what you can actually control. And today we're doing that with Dr. Shippy, and I cannot wait for you guys to meet her. So let's bring her on in. Dr. Ann, welcome to the Healthy by Heather Brown Show. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so looking forward to our conversation.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Ann, I have been counting down the days until we can get this on the calendar because I think it's such vital information for women to know about. So I'm just going to jump right in. Tell us a little bit about what's driving infertility in the background. We're hearing that about 1 in 5 women struggle with infertility now. So from your perspective, what is driving that trend?
Yeah, we are in a fertility crisis and a children's health crisis. And when we look at both of those things, what is causing fertility to drop, both in men and women, and what is causing our children to be less healthier, they really overlap. So I feel like this conversation applies to everybody. And what we learn in looking at these things also just help us to have better longevity. We should feel great well into our 80s and 90s. We should not be expecting a decline that starts around 40. And
thank you. Yes.
Everybody on here, this applies to you, whether you're just wanting to stay healthier or whether you're wanting to protect your children's fertility. So unfortunately, this is a global health crisis. What's been fascinating for me as a former chemical engineer turned doctor, turned detective doctor, we're seeing this globally. So when you start to look at why are we seeing these things happen, we are really changing the environment that we're living in, both what we're eating and the environmental toxins that we're being exposed to. And so when I get to do this really deep dive and detective work with my patients as to everything from what do we do to help the child with autism to the person with the autoimmune diseases to the person that feels like their hormones are way out of balance, there are these common themes that show up for all of us, really. And what's really exciting is that when we start to address these things, people get super fertile. So that's why I was like, oh my God, I've got to write this book, right? Because what I'm seeing is so different than what's in the narrative about, oh my gosh, if you're 31 and you haven't had your kids yet, you better put your eggs on ice. There's this, especially with a couple of books that have even come out this year and more that are coming by reproductive endocrinologists that do IVF as a solution to fertility. We just really need to be changing the conversation. So whether you have kids that are teenagers and they might want to have children someday, what can you be doing to even protect their fertility? If you're 31 and you haven't met your partner yet, what would you be doing? And so what's so exciting is it can be some pretty basic things that you just start incorporating into your life.
Yes. And all God's women said amen. Because, just Dr. Ann and I were laughing as we both even started this podcast. She was like, well, I'm running in crazy and I can't find my mic and I'm getting ready to go off the grid and travel. And I was like, well, I just almost tripped over the dog and I was running out to the trash cans to try to beat the trash truck. So I'm like, y'all, yes, we're in here talking about health because we love it and we're passionate, but we're real busy women too. And so I think that when people hear that, they're like, okay, exhale. She's going to give me some real tangible things that aren't super complicated. Like she gets it. So maybe let's start to deep dive a little bit into some of those things you said. So you say our bodies aren't broken. Our environment is. That's something I pulled out of your book. So what does that look like in every day? You've mentioned a little bit about, BPAs, and we've talked about that some on my show, but maybe just even give them an example of some of the ways that they're coming in contact with those things and what it is day to day.
Yeah. I want to segue a little bit to the men too, because
Absolutely.
for people that are raising boys or they're, planning to have their family sometime. So this applies to both the men and the women. I know your audience is mostly women, but let's get the men engaged too. So I want to start out with just some studies that have come out in the last year on sperm quality, because we're seeing this massive decline in sperm count. We have a decrease in 50% in the last 50 years. So on average, 1% a year, but it's accelerating. The last count, which, they're always a few years behind in the data, was 2.6% decline, like globally per year. So
what in the world?
So I've been working with a lot of women and men on what's going on with their fertility. And unfortunately, a lot of times this unexplained infertility is just that the sperm isn't healthy enough. And it's not being picked up in the traditional sperm testing available. So there's this new company called Sperm QT that has really helped to get into the better detection of what's going on there and really explain. But then we can also use this test to optimize. So just do it as a prevention. Just find out, are we really ready? Should we have the green light to go ahead and start trying? So some of these studies that look at the sperm are actually some of the easier ways to know what's going on in both men and women, because it's easier to look at the sperm than it is to look at the eggs. Like it's such an invasive test to grab some eggs.
Right.
So in some of the studies, looking at highly processed foods. So the packaged things that have been, extremely modified with their nutrient content, the cereals, the more processed bars, all the pastas, all those kinds of things. When they look at men that are eating a lot of those highly processed foods versus eating a fairly, shopping the outside of the grocery store, I call it the preconception diet. So you're eating the healthier meats, not the processed meats, the fruits and vegetables, the nuts and seeds, very little processing. When they take the men and feed them the highly processed, the sperm count goes down. The environmental toxins go up dramatically, so that a lot of these toxins are actually coming in through our food, and the hormone levels go down in 3 weeks. So when I saw the design of
oh my gosh, 3 weeks, that's dramatic.
Which is kind of crazy because it takes 74 to 90 days to make a sperm. So you would think, oh my gosh, you got to do this at least 3 months to see a difference. But in 3 weeks, they saw a tremendous difference. Highly processed foods starts wrecking the hormones, starts decreasing the sperm quality. However, 3 weeks on a highly unprocessed diet, lots of phytonutrients, lots of good proteins, the hormone levels improve. So we can make it tank or we can make it improve in just 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so hormone levels get better, the sperm counts get better, the motility, the morphology, all these things that we can check in sperm so easily start to improve. So what I really want men and women to know is that by making that effort of not having the processed foods, to actually cook the highly nutrient dense foods, low inflammation foods, they can really start changing what's going on with their hormone levels, with what's going on in inflammation in their body, and start to see results very, very quickly. I prefer if we prepare for pregnancy for a minimum of 3 months, if not, start now, like 3 years before and between babies, to really get the body tuned up. But it's really exciting that you can make such a difference just with food.
Absolutely. And you're saying for the men and the women, it would help there.
Absolutely. It's harder to measure. It's harder to give exact studies on the women because it's just harder to check. But we can see improvements in inflammation, in hormone levels, in the amount of nutrients. And so I think about the testes and the ovaries as like little monitors as to what's going on in the body. Like, what should we be doing now? Is it safe to make a baby? Because if you think about it, so much of women's life cycle, from the time you start your period until menopause, so that's decades of time. So much of our life force is actually going to preparing to have ovulation and then get ready to make a baby, over and over and over again for decades. So your ovaries are just really sensing, is it a good time to make a baby? And so a lot of times it's not, because we have so much stress. we're not in a super nutrient repleted place, or there are environmental toxins that are wreaking havoc with our hormones.
Now, you're making me think about this because obviously I'm sure as people are listening to this episode, they're thinking the same thing as me, like specific people in their life that are struggling to get pregnant or different things. So one of the couples that I know that's trying to get pregnant, they a lot of times will cut out alcohol when they're trying to get pregnant. Specifically, the woman will, because she's like, well, if I do get pregnant, then I don't want there to be alcohol there. And then her husband does it just to support her. But what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that actually what she's doing is even more powerful than she thinks, because she's actually reducing her overall toxin load because it's a processed food. Yes? No?
I love that you're making this leap.
Okay.
This is exactly right.
Okay.
The more that we can do to clean up our environment to prepare for pregnancy, the better the body's going to be responding, right? So alcohol is a toxin. It's more that we have to be able to process out of our body, and it can be depleting our nutrients and adding inflammation. So if we extrapolate that to any other substances like cannabis and other substances, like if we remove those, it's going to be better for fertility. And then there are actually studies that look at alcohol for men. So having men cut out alcohol in that preconception period is also really, really helpful for fertility.
Okay.
So I really recommend cutting the alcohol out at least 3 months before even starting to try to conceive for both men and women, and definitely the cannabis too. So the cannabis has kind of a double whammy, because in addition to it being a toxin that you have to clear, especially from a THC standpoint, and men really need to know that it's also can lower their testosterone levels.
Really? What? I did not know that.
No.
Okay.
And that's the last thing that we want for men's fertility, is to be lowering the testosterone, because testosterone helps to create sperm.
Yeah.
So the other thing with the cannabis is that a lot of times it'll have mold toxins and pesticides and heavy metals in it, because the plant itself helps to clean up the soil. It will absorb any of the toxins that are into the soil into the leaves. They used it to clean up Chernobyl.
I'm like, if that doesn't tell you anything, I don't know what will.
I know. It can actually help to clean up nuclear waste. So,
wow. Okay.
So
good to know.
Putting this lens on, like so many of the toxins come in through our food, through the pesticides that are used to grow the food, through like the atrazine on the corn or the glyphosate on the wheat. So the more we can be eating organic and minimizing those toxins coming in, it's really, really helpful so that the body has less to deal with, because a lot of times we're being exposed to too many toxins. So they're building up in our body faster than what we can zip them out with our detox systems. So that's another thing that I really talk about in my book, is how to safely get the buildup of toxins out very gently. Like the process of detoxifying should not, this idea that you have to feel bad when you're detoxing is not accurate. If you're feeling bad when you're detoxing, that's a sign that you're overloading some part of your system. So to do it gently but thoroughly, it's like a series of dams, certain supplements, and eating a lot of the foods that help to support the detox pathways. It can be pretty effective in 3 to 6 months to really get the toxin load down.
Okay. And you have kind of laid all that out in your book. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Yes. Awesome. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So maybe you could just give us like a couple. So my question was going to be, what foods, supplements, or lifestyle practices do you recommend for supporting detoxification and restoring healthy fertility? So could you just give us like a sneak peek, and then they need to go read the book for the rest?
So the things that really support detoxification is making sure you have plenty of protein. So it's really hard to detox effectively as a vegetarian. It's possible. It just takes more work. And then the cruciferous vegetables, so like the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale. So I'm not a huge kale fan, but bok choy can all really support the nutrients that it takes to detoxify. And then the things on my website that I love and use for patients for all kinds of things are liposomal glutathione. So it's a special form of glutathione that is easy to absorb and get into the cells where you need it. We should probably all be taking that as a preventive for, we just here in Austin, we just had fires coming up from Mexico. And so many people didn't feel good, right? So then that's the time that we need to really be bumping up things like the glutathione. And then there's a binder that I love called Zeo Binder in the book and on the website, easy to find. And then liver detox protect that has a lot of the nutrients in it that speed up the exit of the toxins from the body. Okay. So those are some of my favorite things. And then phosphatidylcholine. So it's a mouthful. We call it.
And I was like, what? You're going to have to spell that. I'm like, what?
Or PC. So this is one of my favorite things for both men and women to be taking to prepare for healthy babies. Okay. So it helps us to have healthy cell membranes so that all of the new cells that are coming on board in ourselves are healthier. So we recognize the hormones, getting the hormone signals and all the other signals in the body. And then especially for women, the baby needs a lot of phosphatidylcholine to be able to make cell membranes, to make a healthy nervous system. It's so good for baby brains. I feel like so many of my patients end up having these, really healthy, smart children because their bodies have all the nutrients in it that the baby needs to.
Oh, wow.
So it's super fun.
That's awesome. Okay. Now, would you even recommend that for moms to give to their kids, like if they have older kids? And where do you find it? Is it linked on your website, I guess?
It's on the website. Okay. And cool. We've got the Shippy website and the Every Baby Wells website. So it's in both places because it's my desert island thing. If I was going to have two things dropped into a desert island because I couldn't get it, it would be the liposomal glutathione and the phosphatidylcholine because it's just so, it just gives you that extra boost so that so many things in your body can work better.
Wow. Then, well, I'm like, I need to immediately add those to my cart. So thank you for those pro tips on the desert island needs.
Yeah. And then the other thing that's been so fascinating when I kind of look back at what's really helped my patients with their fertility over the years, and as well as so many things like overcoming autoimmunity, overcoming some of these neurological diseases. So even the hard things is supporting our mitochondria. So our mitochondria are the little organelles inside the cell that make all our energy. It's like the currency of energy in the body. And it's so important for our ovaries and for sperm health. And I think that's why we're seeing so much of this data around these supplements that support the mitochondria really helping with longevity too. Yeah. So we all really benefit from it. Absolutely. I think taking some of these is part of why I went through menopause with absolutely no symptoms. Like I just over a 2-year period kind of quit having periods. And I was like, wait, it's gone.
That's incredible, Dr. Ann. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the women that are approaching perimenopause and menopause, there's this conversation that I'm not in agreement about, just this whole suffering in perimenopause as being inevitable. I don't believe that that's true. I think when our bodies are in balance, that we just kind of gradually stop having a period and feel great, and our body's working as good as ever. Like it should not actually be a decline. It doesn't have to be a decline when our bodies are really in balance. So I got off track. Oh, so the mitochondrial support. So the things that I love for that are a special form of CoQ10 called MitoQ, CoQ10, NAD, and a lot of this is all in the book too.
Okay.
NAD, carnitine, nitric oxide support. So there's a lot of things that we're really highly motivated to be supporting our ovarian function and really either helping with fertility or helping with this healthgevity goal of staying healthy for our full lifespan can make such a huge difference with every aspect of how our physiology is working. So it's really exciting to know that we can put tools in our toolbox to change our trajectory.
Yes, I so agree with that. And I was even thinking about that in the beginning of our conversation where you said that about like women think that like, oh my gosh, once I turn 40, it's just like this really slow, long, awful decline until I'm 80 or 90 years old. And so I think that what I'm hearing you say, and I just want to pinpoint this, is that number one, God has supplied natural supplements in nature that we can take to help us get these things going on, whether it be like the special CoQ10, the carnitine, et cetera, you talk about in your book, but then also lowering our toxic load by eating real foods he gave us and earth. And you mentioned that about mitochondria, and that always goes back to that conversation about light and how God designed light before he even put humans on earth. And so I think that people underestimate how important it is to be outside in the sunshine and then using red light if you don't have access to it, if you're Northeast, winter, what have you. But am I on the right track?
You're nailing it. Like,
okay, great.
That's what I believe is the truth. Like, we were designed to have these healthy, vibrant lives for our entire lifespan. We're not built to have the level of suffering that we're seeing. That's in this children's health crisis. Really, what's my biggest motivation? These new souls coming in to join humanity. They need strong bodies, and there's so much research that's in my book. It's like 600 references, because the really understanding the beauty of the human design and how genes are dialed up and dialed down and how much influence we have in this preconception period could make me weep with honoring God's gift to us.
Yes.
How miraculous we are and how strong we are and what our potential is to create life and to care for our children and build these strong, healthy families.
Amen, amen. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I could go on a really long tangent there, so I'm going to rein it back in because I'm like, gosh, time is flying really quick. So let's talk a little bit about, so we've said how important, the mom and the dad's health is before pregnancy. For the woman who's listening to this, who feels overwhelmed, like, what would you say are the top 3 things she should focus on first? And I actually am even going to twist that question a little bit because I want you to go in this direction too. I also feel like I'm seeing a lot of women now who didn't have a problem getting pregnant with their first, but for some reason they can't get pregnant with the second. So it's a 2-part question. What are the top 3 things they should focus on if they're overwhelmed? And is there a difference between struggling to get pregnant the first time versus the future?
Can I segue a little bit?
Yes, go for it.
Out to the couples that are suffering with secondary infertility. I was there. I've had some infertility issues before I was gifted with my first baby, and then I experienced it again with the second one. I'm very, very lucky. I was right around 38 when I was wanting to, my son was asking where his siblings were,
Oh my goodness. Sweet.
And so it was actually even harder the first time, thinking I wasn't going to be able to give him a sibling. And so I went to see a fertility expert, and he drew some labs and he looked at me, and it's like, because I was in residency at the time, and he's like, your labs are so bad. You've got 0 shot at doing this naturally. You just need to go IVF.
Oh, wow.
So we did all the classes and started, you have to have a period and then start the pill so that you quiet down all your eggs so that then they can stimulate a bunch all at the same time. And so he just told me, no babies for you unless you do IVF. And it was a crazy time for me because I was like on call every 4th night. So I was waiting for my period to start and just kind of in survival with a 3-year-old, and then no sleep and lots of responsibility. And somehow I got pregnant.
Oh my gosh. And God said, nope, I got this.
I got this. No IVF for you. I think IVF would have wrecked my body. Like, I don't think my body could have tolerated those big pushes of the hormones. I'm so grateful. But what it really taught me is those labs don't tell you it doesn't tell you how fertile you really are.
Interesting.
So much to this. So I think my message here is, if we think about not getting pregnant as the body just saying not right now, it's not saying, it's just like sensing this isn't the right time. So start on the things that I have in the book, like the lifestyle things, like the getting the sleep, managing the stress, getting the healthy food in your body, taking the supplements that make sense to you. And I really outline like this in great detail in the books. And then we have an online program that for people that are like, oh, I want to go deeper. I want to look at my toxin levels. I want to look at my nutrient stores. I want to see how my mitochondria are working, all of these things so that I can dial it in a little bit more, because we're meant to create life. And so when we tune our bodies up. So a lot of times what's happening with the secondary infertility is just our bodies have gotten too depleted in something from the baby pulling the first baby or the second baby pulling what it needed.
Yeah.
And we need to replace those things. So there are tests that we can do to look more deeply. So I really love for my patients to come back and see me around 4 to 6 weeks postpartum so we can tune them up for the breastfeeding stage, so we can really see what their bodies need more of, and if there's any sources of inflammation, what's going on with their microbiome, the good bacteria in the body. Are there things that we need to do to tune up because of all the hormone fluctuations during pregnancy? Have things gotten off track a little bit? Do we just need to do a tune up? Because when our bodies have all the nutrients that they need to run these intricate pathways and they're not being overwhelmed by something in the environment, we're just meant to create life.
It's so interesting hearing you say this, Dr. Ann, because I'm thinking about how, when you typically go to a postpartum appointment, it's like, okay, looks like you're recovered. Let's get you on birth control. And it's like, that basically is what your 6-week postpartum appointment is. So that makes me think, what are some red flags that people should be looking for either when they go to that postpartum after appointment or some red flags when they're struggling to get pregnant? If they walk into a fertility clinic and they hear these things, maybe you would advise them in a different direction. Because I think, especially for me being from Birmingham, Alabama, we just don't have many holistic practitioners here that deal with this specifically. So I think the more education you could give us, the better.
Yeah. So look for a functional medicine doctor that can do some of these more intensive testing. We are really working on trying to make this available to more people through our online programs. If you're in a remote area and you can't do it, because I want people to have access to this data. My dream is that every woman postpartum gets to do these tests and know where their body is, because everybody's so different and what their bodies need and what the baby has actually needed. But another fun story is I had a patient come to me postpartum. She was 2 to 3 months postpartum. I hadn't seen her before with her first baby. She was really going through it with postpartum depression. She just did not feel like herself. She was not bouncing back. Everything was really, really hard. So we did these intensive nutritional testing on her, and we found that she was really depleted in a lot of things.
Oh, wow.
And she ended up, I have to warn people, you're going to get super fertile. You're not going to believe me how fertile you get after we did this rebuilding. So she was still nursing, got pregnant with the second one.
Oh, my word. That's awesome, though. Wow.
Amazing. Such a gift. But we had tuned her up so well that after the second one, she didn't have any postpartum depression. She felt amazing.
Wow.
So that just goes to show, if there are any symptoms going on, your metabolism isn't kicking in and you're not losing any extra weight that you got, if you're feeling unreasonably tired compared to having a newborn, or if your thyroid gets thrown off, any of these things, it's a sign that we just need to investigate a little deeper, see what your body needs, make sure that inflammation's down, the microbiome's working well, there's not a toxic exposure. There's always an answer, and we just need to dig until we find it.
Absolutely. And then the other part of that question, though, is there anything that you feel like is a red flag for people when they first go into an infertility clinic that they should be aware of, maybe?
Well, to me, we should just even be looking at infertility.
Okay. Well, see, that's a bold statement, though. I'm like, nobody says that. Tell us why.
I'm thinking of infertility and reflecting back to when I myself have had infertility, or when I've had patients come into me with infertility. It's just the check engine lights on. Yeah. And we just need to, rather than doing IVF, and this is so controversial, the IVF doctors hate me for this.
I'm sure.
Rather than just doing IVF, we need to look at both more deeply at both the husband and the wife, both partners, and we need to look at why the check engine light is on. Is there a toxic mold exposure? Is there an autoimmune process going on? What is happening? And not just, because I believe that IVF is driving the car across the country with check engine light on. And I think a lot of times, not always, women are actually, it's really hard on their bodies. And there's not great data to really look at so longitudinal studies to look at women's health in the decades ahead or the children's health. And there's definitely signs that the children can be potentially less healthy and that the women run into more health problems. Yikes. And so to me, that's just like, we're not listening. We're not listening to the check engine light being on and then helping people to conceive naturally. That said, there are some places for IVF. So it is a valuable tool in certain circumstances, like when both the husband and the wife are carriers for recessive genetic disorders like cystic fibrosis. And it's a horrific disease that we don't have good answers for yet. So any of those, there's hundreds of them, recessive disorders, that would make sense to me to be able to choose the embryo that's not carrying that disease. Same-sex partners may need to do it, but why not try IUI first? And then when both tubes are blocked and the surgeries to try to open them aren't effective. So those are the three things off the top of my head that, yes, by all means, it's a valuable tool to bring life into your family. However, I think most IVF doctors aren't prepared to do this more investigational, like look and try to figure out what the check engine light is telling us. And help couples to get the check engine light up, get things tuned up. And most couples don't know that by doing this time ahead, avoiding the alcohol, getting the stress response managed, building up the nutrients, getting the microbiome dialed in, and doing a really thorough detox can dramatically change the health of their future child and maybe even future generations by this field of epigenetics, how these things dial the genes up and dial the genes down. And I think by not having this practice around really preparing for pregnancy, it's part of why we're seeing the increase in autism, obesity, mental health, all this children's health crisis. So my belief is, just based on what I'm seeing with my patients, how healthy these babies are, even well into their mid-40s. My oldest patient, just 48, just had a super healthy baby girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah. At home, water birth. Wow. I wasn't told. She didn't ask me about that piece. Oh my God, thank God it all went well. But it just shows us, like, when our bodies are healthy, tuned up, it's so possible to bring in this beautiful life, even well into our 40s. And so this conversation, oh, you're 31 and you haven't had your kids yet? Like, oh my God, what are you thinking? That conversation needs to go away.
Yes, I totally agree. Well, and Dr. Ann, I think it's so interesting as I'm hearing you talk about the check engine light. I hate this, but I feel like we actually are, as just a culture and as a, everyday hustling American, group of women that are listening to this, and our husbands sometimes, we are just disconnected from our bodies so much and learning how to listen to them and know when the check engine light is on, that it's almost like not getting pregnant might be the first time that you're kind of like, oh, what's wrong here? Whereas in the past, I feel like we had a slower rhythm. We're doing more of how our bodies were originally designed to handle life. So hearing all this is making me think. And so I want to ask you, what are maybe some of the check engine lights that women or kids or their husbands may be having, but they're just like, well, everybody struggles with their sleep or everybody has this problem, so it's normal, that actually is not? Could you maybe point out some of those symptoms for them to start thinking about and evaluating?
I love this question, and you've really touched on something, because I think most women, when they go to the doctor, they're just being told, oh, it's just because you're stressed, or it's just because you're aging, for every symptom. So whether you're just having trouble gathering the energy that you need to do your day-to-day life, whether you're feeling like your brain is a little bit foggy and not working optimally, whether you're not waking up rested, like we should wake up feeling rested and ready to go most days. And even things like headaches. Headaches are perfect example of check engine light. If you're having headaches, if your cycles are heavy, or you're having PMS, that's a sign that your body's out of balance. Or just the irregular periods. Like, there are things that we can be doing to help your body to be getting into balance and to have a smooth, easy, healthy cycle. It drives me crazy that so many women, young women, teenagers, are being put on the pill because they've got a little acne or the painful periods. Instead, we should be looking under the hood and figuring out why these symptoms are happening and not just band-aiding them so that the root causes are just getting worse over time.
Dr. Ann, I'm like, preach, because that was me. I mean, I had acne and I had really painful periods. And so, of course, what was I told? Get on this low dose birth control. There should be really no problem. You're going to be fine. Da, 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 da. And I'm so thankful that my mom was wise enough that she intervened with me after a few years of being on it. And she was like, some of the things that I'm hearing are that it could even cause cancer. It could even cause da, 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 da. And it's like, who knows how sound her research was back then? I'm not saying that, but I do know that the more podcast guests and experts that I do interview now, the more that we're learning how detrimental birth control can be for women. So do you mind explaining even just a little bit about what do you typically tell your patients that are thinking about getting on birth control, and like what, I guess, like other methods do you recommend for them to use?
So in this preconception period, I really like for no hormones to be used at all.
Yeah.
Both men and women, because, so many young men are also going on hormones. And to me, if they have a low testosterone, there's a reason. We need to figure out why. So no hormones in this preconception period. After you're done having your kids, it's up to you. Like, do what you want to do. But until then, we should be using barrier methods of contraception along with tracking our cycles with whatever method you like to use. And I usually tell my patients, because it happens so often, where I think that period of fertility actually lengthens the healthier you get. I've had a few patients where they're like, we did our usual rhythm method.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. Like, they got pregnant. So
hilarious. Oh my gosh.
That extra super fertile where you actually even need to add to that window.
That's awesome though. She's like, fair warning, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Okay. We are like really about to run out of time now. So I'm like, I do want to ask you this question. I feel like this is a little controversial, but I want to get into it. So this is something I know a lot of women are wondering about. Have you seen any connection between the COVID vaccine and fertility, or what does the research currently say?
Mm-hmm. That is a very controversial question.
I know. I'm like, Dr. Ann, you don't have to answer if you want to.
I think it's suspicious.
Okay.
I think if you just think about the amount of inflammation that a lot of people experience just getting COVID,
mm-hmm.
So you're getting scraped from the inside out with a virus that's in your body for maybe 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give a vaccine, that production of spike protein can go on even longer and keep scraping. Mm-hmm. So all the inflammation, the clotting factors, the autoimmunity that can get triggered by causing organ and intravascular volume or intravascular damage. So basically inside the blood vessel. If you just think about those mechanisms, it's very possible that is contributing to things that would disrupt fertility.
Okay.
My spidey senses on the vaccine were up from the very beginning, because I started seeing patients that had done the vaccine that had very complicating things happen, neurological symptoms, autoimmune symptoms, clotting symptoms. I saw a lot of consequences from the vaccines. Even a lot of my patients chose not to be vaccinated.
Okay.
So I feel like, and the fact that they did not study women that were pregnant and then all of a sudden decided that every woman that was pregnant needed to be vaccinated, and then talking to some of the doctors and nurses that were in the hospitals at that time, just the things that they observed. So I think that your question is probably has a strong concern around, we were already in a fertility crisis. Could this have made things even worse? I think it's highly likely. I do think that these things that I recommend in my book, this approach can really help people to lower the inflammation, help their bodies get cleaned up and recover so that there's less of an impact of that. And then I think, just any time that there's a recommendation to put something in your body, I do talk a little, I pulled out some of the package inserts of some of the common vaccines that are given during pregnancy and put that into the book.
Okay.
Package inserts basically would recommend so that just means the drug information sheets that come with the product. To me, based on what the potential side effects were and how little had actually been studying, that it doesn't make sense for the OBs to be recommending that women get vaccinated during pregnancy.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I think that I keep seeing more and more coming out. And I feel like you're such an expert in this field that it was worth asking you. And I think that that's so encouraging that if they have, that there are things that they can do to help reduce that inflammation, like you're saying. I am curious, do you feel like it's something where they might even want to do one of those spike detox? What is it called? Spike protein detoxes? Or is that something you talk about?
So, I have a different approach than what's out there on the spike protein detox.
Okay.
What I really recommend doing is, looking at your inflammation markers and then following your inner guidance system on what the best approach is to get the inflammation down. And if it includes the spike protein detox, then do that.
Okay.
But a lot of times just by rebuilding our mitochondria, using the phosphatidylcholine to rebuild cell membranes, getting on a super low inflammation diet, the body just knows what to do to get things back into balance again. I mean, that's been the most inspiring thing about 6 years post the whole COVID thing is just how resilient humans are and how much repair can happen with just using the tools that we have in our toolbox to help the body to recover.
Yes. And I think that so much of a lot of the studying that I've been doing recently for some writing that I'm doing is all about how God gave us the tools to heal and he designed the body to heal. And so going back to how he designed it as closely as possible, even in this fast paced culture, it's just, it's he knew what he was doing. That's why he created us this way. He knew it didn't surprise him what happened in 2020, and it's not going to surprise him what happens in 2030. And so he has fully equipped us. And so we put our trust in him no matter what. But I know that now as we're winding down, I don't want to miss out on asking you, tell everybody one more time all about the book. Tell them where they can get it. Tell them where your website is, where they can shop all these products that you've talked about. And we're just so, so grateful for your time, Dr. Ann.
Oh, thanks for having me. The book is called The Preconception Revolution, a science-backed guide to your fertility and generational health. And it's on Amazon and pretty much any place that books are sold. And then the website specifically around preparing for healthy babies is called Every Baby Well. That's my goal, is you can tell on the titles of things I really think we can change this children's health crisis around, and the fertility crisis can be reversed. So Every Baby Well, and then Shippy MD for all the longevity and, some of these complex problems like mold exposure. And then the place that we post the most helpful information several times a week is Shippy MD on Instagram.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ann. The question that I ask everyone in closing, so I'll ask you too, is how do you personally reset?
So for me personally, I do daily meditation. So where I connect in with God and listen, that's if I will just take a few minutes to rest with him, it's quite fascinating. It's very different than even sleep. It can be just even a few minutes, and it's an incredible reset. And I just feel like I receive so much light and so much love. And then I do something called panchakarma.
Okay. I've never heard of this. Tell me more.
It's really kind of beautiful. It's the Indian Ayurvedic, hundreds of years of practice to help your body to detoxify and reset. So I go once a year to a place in Germany called Park Schletten. So it's the German precision meets the Indian wisdom. So it's just a beautiful, just reset for me.
Oh, cool.
To just make sure that I'm tuned up for the following year.
There you go. Love it. Well, Dr. Ann, I'm going to have to research that when we get off this call because I've never heard of that before and I'm fascinated. So very cool. Thank you so much for your time today. It was truly an honor. And I feel certain that so many women are going to be given this episode by either their moms that are listening or grandmothers or people sending it to their friends. So truly thank you for your time. And you guys, please send this out because I feel like it is just invaluable information that women aren't necessarily being told up front at their regular doctor's office. And there's just so much more deeper, like we were saying, there's just a deeper level of your health, whether it's not just your body, it's your mind, it's your spirit, it's getting back to how God designed you to be. And then also that he created us to give life. And we want to be able to, share that wisdom that's been shared today. So thank you guys so much. We love you. Have an awesome day and I'll see you next Tuesday. Okay, friend, that's a wrap on this week's episode. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure to screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, and tag @healthy_by_Heather so I can connect with you in my DMs. It truly brings me so much joy to see how these episodes impact you. Make sure to subscribe so we can see you back here next Tuesday for our weekly show. In case you don't know, your downloads, ratings, and reviews are the actual lifeblood of this podcast, and it helps spread the word to your friends and family. So please hit the download button on this episode and leave a 5-star rating if you super loved it. And if we're really BFFs, you'll spread the happy and text this podcast link to someone who needs to hear it today for some encouragement. Scroll down to the show notes on this episode to see any and all links mentioned, freebies to fuel your health goals, prayer-related episodes, and the 7-day free trial of my exclusive membership where I personally coach and cheer you on in whole health. While you're there, make sure to check out my Amazon storefront with healthy snacks, my favorite look for less workout outfits, and books and devotionals that challenge me in my faith. If you ever need to find my Amazon storefront, just Google Healthy by Heather Brown Amazon and it will come up. Have a great day, girl gang.